Why AI will fire your boss first. The $100,000 job trap. The Slack ping hit first. Effective immediately, Jordan is no longer with the company. 30 minutes earlier, he'd approved the final invoice for the AI upskilling program he championed. HR's email called it strategic realignment after a quarter of record productivity. The team sat in silence, staring at dashboards Jordan helped automate. Rewind 6 months. Promises of raises, certificates, and future-proof skills. Then the pink slips. The targets weren't entry-level. They were $75,000 to $150,000 roles built on repeatable analysis. Upskilling was the banner. Headcount was the plan. To understand why, we need to go back to how AI changes tasks, not jobs. Quick blueprint you'll use in this video. Spot the $100,000 trap, dodge the upskilling sales pitch, claim the exceptions lane, and convert speed into paid judgment. Keep listening with one question in mind. Which decision will have your name on it next quarter? The $100,000 job trap. What's really being automated? Start with the work that actually fills a $100,000 calendar. Slicing data into weekly narratives, shepherding projects through checklists, reconciling spreadsheets, writing summaries for people who won't read the full deck, massaging forecasts to match guidance, and aligning stakeholders through email threads that never end. It's repeatable, analytical, and sits in the middle layer between strategy and execution. That's the target. AI doesn't fire a job on Monday. It eats tasks on Tuesday, then the headcount follows on Wednesday. The payroll code changes last because optics matter, but the substance changes first. A model drafts the market recap, another builds the visual, a workflow routes approvals, an agent pings vendors and chases updates. A summarizer turns a 5-page brief into 3 bullet points your VP will skim in the Uber. What's left looks like work, but it's the leftovers. Auditing outputs, escalating exceptions, responding to the quick question with a link to the dashboard someone already has. Here's the trick that catches smart people: the busyness illusion. After automation, your calendar fills because you're handling the corner cases. You feel important because the pings don't stop. Meanwhile, the organization sees your function as stabilized. Leadership reads the productivity graph and asks a simple question. If the machine drafts, routes, and compiles, why does this layer still cost this much? The answer used to be judgment. But the artifacts of judgment, decks, memos, one-pagers, now look identical whether a human started them or a model did. Perception shifts before policy does. Compensation compression follows. Output per person climbs, budgets don't. Pay bands freeze, pending market calibration. Performance rubrics tilt toward measurable throughput. More tickets closed, more insights shipped, faster cycles. Those metrics flatter machines and punish human judgment because judgment resists scoring. So the mid-layer gets squeezed from both ends. Senior leadership keeps the people who own decisions. Frontline specialists keep the work that requires physical presence or license sign-off. The middle loses its moat because its advantage was speed and scale of analysis, which AI now rents for cheap. Why managers and analysts go first makes brutal sense inside a spreadsheet. The value story for a mid-level manager: coordination, reporting, translation, maps to software. Standing meetings become asynchronous workflows. Status updates become auto-summaries. Tell me what I need to know becomes a query with role-based context. You still need someone to decide, but fewer someones to prepare the decision. Analysts face a similar cliff. For standardized data, models already handle cleaning, joining, charting, and even basic inference at a level that passes the meeting. The human edge used to be speed under deadline. Speed is now a commodity. Meanwhile, a frontline nurse, a site superintendent, a field adjuster, or a licensed broker sits closer to reality. Variability lives there. Physical nuance, regulation, and human emotion resist tidy prompts. That's why the middle gets trimmed before the tip or the base. Owners won't fire the person who signs the risk or the person whose hands do the work. They'll compress the layer that stitches slides between them. Now about task versus job. People hear, AI won't replace your job. It will replace tasks as comfort. Inside a budget, it's the opposite. If 40% of a role's tasks are automated and the remainder can be redistributed, the job becomes a rounding error. If 70% is automated and the rest is exceptions, you get an efficiency realignment. The point isn't whether AI can do everything you do. It's whether AI can do enough of it that the renewal case for your seat gets weak. When your renewal case is weak, you become project-based headcount, not a role. Projects end. Then there's the optics game. Leadership needs a story for Wall Street and the board. Training spend sounds humane and strategic. We're investing in our people to unlock AI productivity. Internally, the finance model counts the gains first. Larger spans of control, fewer layers, same or better output. It's not personal, it's arithmetic. Upskilling, framed as a shield, becomes a bridge that carries your workflows to the machine. The certificate proves you helped build the bridge. Get this, more dashboards don't mean more judgment. They can mean less, because abundance kills attention. When every meeting opens with 10 perfect charts, nobody asks the uncomfortable question. Should this exist at all? The $100,000 trap isn't ignorance, it's excellence at the wrong thing. Optimizing a repeatable process in a world that now rents repeatability. The instinct to refine, streamline, and report becomes the reason your layer looks optional. You prove the process doesn't need you. Share this with one teammate who still equates dashboards with influence. If they feel seen, they'll watch the rest, and they'll forward it to the person who signs their review. This is also where incentives quietly twist. Managers responsible for headcount are rewarded for throughput per dollar. If your team's productivity jumps after AI rollout, your own argument for expansion dies. Your reward is a congratulatory note and a hiring freeze. Hold that thought, it matters later. If you're listening from a $75,000 to $150,000 chair, here's the simple diagnostic. Do you mostly transform inputs into artifacts other people read? Do your wins show up as systems that make you less necessary? When your best day produces a template any competent person can run, you're on the wrong side of the curve. The roles that survive own ambiguity, not artifacts. So who benefits from the upskilling story that tells you the opposite? That more tools equal more security, that certificates equal leverage, that dashboards equal influence? While you were mastering the platform, someone else was mastering the plan. And that plan pays them twice. The upskilling sales machine. Follow the money. Upskilling isn't a social good, it's a market with quotas. Software vendors need adoption metrics to renew enterprise deals. EdTech platforms need seat licenses, completion rates, and case studies. Internal academies need budget justifications and glossy dashboards. Colleges need relevance haze, non-credit certificates that sound like promotions. Everyone upstream gets paid when you enroll. Your security becomes their sales funnel. What these programs actually teach is tool fluency, not leverage. You learn where the buttons live, how to prompt, how to drag a workflow block into a canvas. You ship more artifacts. You don't gain authority over decisions, budgets, or risk. The curriculum is built around features because features are easy to measure. Judgment is hard to measure and harder to teach. So it's skipped or it's repackaged as capstone projects that still grade outputs, not outcomes. KPI theater turns learning into optics. Completions, badges, hours logged. These numbers glow on an exec slide. 87% of the org is now AI-enabled. Enabled to do what exactly? The story stops short of capability delta. Which decisions got better, which margins expanded, which risks dropped, which cycles shortened without degrading quality. Those are messy to attribute, so they rarely appear. What does appear is a before-after chart of artifacts per person. That graph becomes the cover story for what finance already planned. Budget optics make it palatable. Training spend is booked as investment in people. It buys goodwill during the quarters when headcount lines taper. You see learning journeys, while procurement signs multi-year platform agreements with usage minimums. The RFP language calls for transformation, self-serve analytics, and citizen development. Translation: move the work from specialized humans to standardized workflows, then remove the surplus humans. The invoice is clear, the calendar invites rollout, the narrative reads humane. Here's a quiet tell. Most upskilling programs are tool first, domain second. They don't start with a P&L, a claim file, a safety incident, a failed deal. They start with a feature tour. That's because the sponsors aren't your customers, they're your vendors. When a curriculum is paid for by the platform becomes the hero. The business problem becomes a demo dataset. You leave fluent in the button clicks that make your own role easier to automate. Let's ground it in a case. A cohort of 60 completes a 12-week academy. prompts, automation canvases, a crash in Python, and responsible AI. The showcase day is slick. Demos whir. Dashboards sing. 2 weeks later, the COO announces a hiring pause to capture productivity gains. Quarter end, HR announces a strategic realignment, consolidating reporting into a shared service. 30 roles collapse into 18. The slide cites remarkable efficiency unlocked by our AI investment. The certificates hang on home office walls next to severance envelopes. Nobody lied. The order of operations just wasn't said out loud. Inside the paperwork, the timing was obvious. Procurement issued the RFP months before the academy launched. The scope included automation of the very tasks the cohort enhanced. The transformation dashboard tracked usage minutes, not margin points. The vendor tied renewal discounts to active users. Adoption begets budget. Budget begets cuts. The loop closes while everyone smiles about learning. Why does the story sell so well? It flatters both sides. Workers hear hope. You're not obsolete, you're evolving. Leaders get cover. We're not cutting, we're investing. Vendors get proof. Our platform changes culture. The only missing piece is ownership of outcomes. Who owns a decision after the training? Who owns the risk when the model hallucinates? Who signs the accountable memo when automation fails? Those names don't come from a certificate. There's also the comfort of being busy. It feels good to progress through modules, to see a badge appear, to post a hashtagged update about leveling up. It's concrete in a foggy time, but busy doesn't equal sovereign. If you're learning tools without owning a decision, you're becoming interchangeable faster. If you're shipping more outputs without negotiating how those outputs change a KPI that funds your seat, you're decorating a room that's being downsized. Get this, none of this says don't learn. It says learn in the order that compounds. Start from leverage. Ask which problems your customers or executives will pay to make go away. Map the decision, the risk, the trade-offs, the failure modes. Then back into the minimal stack that helps you deliver that outcome faster with fewer errors. The platform becomes a means, not your identity. Your certificate becomes a footnote on a memo that moved money. One more human moment. A director tells their team, "This academy will future-proof you." They mean it. They believe it. They were briefed that training is the path to safety because that's what the slide said. They also carry a span of control target they didn't design. When the cuts land, they'll tell you they fought for your seat. They probably did. Incentives won anyway. So if upskilling is the showroom, what sells after the test drive? The roles that survive aren't the fastest prompt engineers. They're the ones who own ambiguity, set the rules, and hold the pen on decisions that carry risk. To see what that looks like in practice, we have to talk about the work AI can't easily commoditize. 2 moats, strategy and human connection. Start with uncertainty, because that's where the machine blinks. Strategy lives in fog. When the data is incomplete, the incentives conflict, and a wrong call hurts real people. AI can simulate certainty. It can't carry blame. Surviving roles take that weight. They choose a direction with imperfect inputs, stake a reputation, and write the memo that explains why. That memo isn't a recap. It's a bet with consequences. Strategy isn't speed. It's synthesis, pulling threads from finance, operations, psychology, law, and the market, then weaving a path other people can follow. You won't win by prompting 10 models for 10 summaries. You win by seeing the pattern none of those summaries name, because it sits between the lines. When you can explain how a pricing tweak distorts sales behavior, shifts support load, and triggers regulatory scrutiny 2 quarters later, you're not faster, you're compounding. Taste and trust are scarce by design. A model can propose a brand voice. It can't be a brand anyone believes. That belief comes from a track record of good calls under pressure. It's why a single sentence from a trusted operator moves a board, while a 50-page AI deck gets skimmed. Scarcity creates a moat. You can copy a template. You can't copy credibility earned across messy cycles. Now the second moat, deep human connection. Negotiation isn't a logic problem, it's a temperature problem. You're reading breath, timing silence, trading concessions that preserve face. In complex enterprise sales, people buy the reduction of risk, the promise of continuity, and the feeling that you'll show up when it breaks. Models can draft the proposal. You close the gap between fear and commitment. Care work embodies this too. A nurse calming a family isn't delivering information. They're modulating panic, establishing trust, and guiding choices in grief. A coach confronting a founder's blind spot isn't reciting a framework. They're earning permission to land a hard truth. The words matter less than the felt sense that you're safe with them. That's not promptable. It's practiced in rooms where stakes are personal. Physical nuance ties the moats together. High variability skilled trades, restoring a historic facade, diagnosing a bizarre mechanical failure, adjusting a prosthetic, demand hands, eyes, and judgment in context. Procedures help. Experience decides. The value isn't the checklist. It's knowing when the checklist doesn't fit this building, this patient, this machine. That discretion is strategy at ground level. Here's where both moats meet: economics, value pricing. If you sell outputs or hours, AI underbids you every time. If you price outcomes, reduce churn, faster clearance, fewer adverse events, you decouple your income from the number of keystrokes. Owners pay for risk moved off their plate and for decisions that hold up in the sunlight. That's strategy plus trust knitted into a contract. What does this look like inside a company? A product lead who owns the roadmap trade-offs and defends them to angry customers, and is right often enough to be believed. A head of compliance who writes guardrails the business can actually run through, then defends them when regulators knock. A regional manager who can walk a job site, spot the two silent risks that will eat margin, and reroute both crews and capital by 5 p.m. They orchestrate, yes, but more importantly, they absorb responsibility. Meanwhile, tool Fluency becomes a lever, not a label. You don't do AI. You run a process that closes a gap, using AI where it shortens time to clarity. You keep the human moments for the rooms that matter. The escalation call, the renegotiation, the apology that keeps a contract alive. You let the model handle drafts and detection. You hold the pen for decisions and tone. A quick microstory. A procurement lead renegotiates a supplier after a defect batch. The model drafts the data pack and flags alternative vendors. The human walks into the meeting, reads the room, opens with a shared problem frame, offers a face-saving concession tied to a longer contract, and secures both a discount and tighter QA. The AI made the argument sharp. The human made it land. Notice the pattern: judgment at the edge, empathy at the center. You're choosing among bad options, then carrying people through the choice. That's why these moats don't scale the way tools do. You can't mass-produce trust without diminishing it. You can't mass-produce blame-taking without diluting accountability. Scarcity keeps the price high. So, if you're mapping your path, ask 2 questions. 1. Where in your world do decisions with incomplete information create or destroy dollars? 2. Where do humans feel exposed, financially, legally, emotionally? And who do they turn to when the stakes rise? Move toward those intersections. Build receipts there. The shift isn't noble, it's practical. When AI floods the floor with competent drafts, your edge moves upstream to framing the problem and downstream to carrying the outcome. That is strategy plus human connection. That's the corridor with fewer chairs, but sturdier legs. And if you need a compass inside an org chart, watch who gets called in when the data disagrees, the lawyers worry, and a customer is about to walk. Follow that call. Case study: the manager who optimized himself out. Jordan was a mid-level operations lead, the dependable kind who could untangle a broken workflow without making enemies. His team's weak was a conveyor belt: intake, prioritization, routing, approvals, reporting. The pain was manual triage and status drift. So Jordan built the fixes. He piloted a queuing agent that tagged requests by risk and revenue. He wired auto reminders to chase blockers. He trained a summarizer to draft weekly updates in the exact cadence the VP liked. The first quarter after rollout, cycle times dropped by 38%. Ticket aging flattened. Everyone clapped. The CFO noticed the slope. A hiring request held on the docket for 2 months got quietly deferred pending productivity review. The reasoning wasn't cruel, it was arithmetic. With cycle time down and work visibly in control, headcount pressure needed a better story. Jordan was proud. He brought the metrics to the all-hands and framed them as a win. He wasn't wrong. But the win moved leverage up a floor he didn't own. Workload didn't shrink, it concentrated. The AI handled clean routes. The team got exceptions, weird integrations, compliance flags, angry partner escalations. Jordan shifted his attention to edge case triage. He kept building. An approval policy parser, a rules engine for low-dollar decisions, a dashboard that forecasted risk spikes from seasonality. Each success tightened the loop. Each loop made the routine more automatic, and the remaining human work looked more specialized, not necessarily more strategic. Quarterly review arrived with new OKRs. Strategy initiatives slid down the list. Output metrics climbed. Responses within SLA, backlog under threshold, auto-resolution rate. Jordan argued for time to address structural issues upstream. Work intake policy, incentive-driven noise, misaligned targets with sales. The response was cordial. After this quarter, we're in a productivity window. He left the room with a smile and a list of numbers. It felt like progress. It was constraint dressed as praise. The hiring freeze turned into a span of control conversation. Org design consultants modeled layers. 1 exec, 2 directors, 8 managers, 60 ICs. With automation handling standard flow and summaries providing roll-ups, the model suggested 7 managers could do the coordination with wider spans. Fewer meetings, more dashboards. HR's language was neutral, to reduce coordination friction and empower ICs. Jordan's name moved into a new column labeled potential redundancy. The spreadsheet didn't know him. It knew ratios. The reorg memo landed on a Tuesday. We're consolidating operations leadership to streamline decision velocity. Jordan's team stayed, their work didn't. Their new manager inherited 2 extra pods, a larger span, and a mandate to hit higher auto-resolution targets. Jordan got the call from HR, then a 15-minute exit with his VP that wasn't cold, just exhausted. The VP said the lines they always say, "We're grateful, we wouldn't have gotten here without you." Both sentences were true. In the aftermath, the surviving team's calendar looked brutal. Exceptions multiplied because anything unusual now waited longer for eyes. Politics surfaced. Who owned failure modes the AI couldn't categorize? Compliance wanted tighter guardrails. Sales wanted more flexibility. ICs, now empowered, found that empowerment meant they were the ones absorbing customer heat on edge cases. Burnout risk rose because the soothing repetition was gone. Only the stressful puzzles remained, without slack or air cover. Jordan sat at his kitchen table with a severance packet and a portfolio full of wins that made him less necessary. He kept thinking about a sentence from a finance partner months earlier. "If this works, we'll finally be right-sized." He had nodded. He now understood what it meant. He hadn't made a mistake in the craft. He had mispriced the trade. He gave away the narrative while he built the machine. 2 weeks later, he pivoted. He called the compliance lead who'd always pinged him on tricky exceptions. He pitched a contract, exception handling playbooks for regulated requests, coupled with an escalation on-call retainer. He didn't sell dashboards. He sold reduced regulatory exposure and time to clear for revenue-blocking cases. His first deliverable wasn't a tool. It was a memo that defined thresholds, authority levels, rollback steps, and audit trails. The VP signed because the risk sat on their desk. That shift changed the math. Jordan still used AI. He built detectors, drafts, and runbooks. But the price was tied to outcomes under uncertainty, not artifacts. When a novel request hit, he took the call, made the recommendation, wrote the accountable note, and stood behind it. His receipts weren't screenshots. They were decisions that survived audit. Inside his old company, the loop tightened further. With fewer managers, span of control logic bred more automation to protect SLA numbers. Quality wobbled at the edges. The team learned to love Jordan's playbooks because they de-risked choices the dashboards couldn't adjudicate. The irony landed with a dull thud. The person who optimized himself out returned as the person who wrote the rules for the work that couldn't be optimized. Here's the quiet lesson he phrased for himself. Don't sell speed where speed is cheap. Sell judgment where hesitation is expensive. Automate your way out of the routine, then claim the messy middle nobody wants to own. When leadership measures you by outputs, they've already put you on a path to replacement. When they measure you by the quality of decisions under pressure, they need your name on the line. Historical echoes, automation's middle squeeze. 3 centuries ago, a master weaver taught apprentices to read the fabric with their fingertips. Then power looms arrived. Owners didn't fire everyone, they redefined the shop. A few designers set patterns. A few mechanics kept machines humming. Most workers became tenders, feeding, watching, fixing jams. The ladder from apprentice to master narrowed because the middle, hands-on craft plus judgment, got sliced. Wages didn't vanish, but bargaining power did. The profit shifted to those who owned the machines, designed the patterns, or sold the cloth. A century later, the office repeated the pattern. Spreadsheets didn't just make accountants faster, they collapsed roles. What took junior clerks days, tabulating, copying ledgers, checking sums, became a few keystrokes. The experienced professional still signed the financials. The mailroom still moved the paper. The clerical rungs between them thinned out. The pathway to judgment got steeper because fewer seats taught it. Productivity boomed, employment grew, but wages decoupled from output. The benefits pooled at the top, and where software scaled. The internet flattened yet another layer. Travel agents, stockbrokers, catalog order reps, they all mediated information. When customers could click directly, the middleman function lost scarcity. Survivors shifted from taking orders to absorbing risk. Bespoke itineraries with guarantees, wealth management with fiduciary duty, logistics orchestration with penalties for misses. The job title mattered less. The liability mattered more. That's the echo you're hearing now in white-collar AI. Models act like power looms for analysis and language. They take the repeatable patterns, join, summarize, format, distribute, and run them at near-zero marginal cost. Owners of the systems, designers of workflows, and sellers with credible promises capture the delta. Operators who lived in the middle, coordinating, compiling, translating, see their moats drain. The latter narrows where it taught judgment through repetition, because repetition is rented. Productivity outpaces pay because bargaining power follows replaceability. When dozens of people can generate comparable artifacts with the same tools, the price of artifacts falls. When the artifact is the job's visible output, the job's price follows. It happened when word processors made everyone a typesetter. It happened when email made everyone their own assistant. It's happening as AI makes everyone a serviceable analyst or writer, for first drafts and standard cases. Owners won the earlier rounds by controlling capital and distribution. Designers won by setting standards, interfaces, and tastes others had to follow. Sellers won by holding the customer relationship and the trust to convert it into revenue. Operators who executed within the system competed on speed and accuracy. Once machines exceeded both, the premium moved elsewhere. That's why historical advice sounds blunt. Own the decisions, own the machine, or own the customer. Ideally, two of the three. There's another quiet consequence. When the middle disappears, apprenticeships suffer. How do you learn judgment if the stepping stone work is automated? In factories, fewer journeyman roles meant fewer chances to make small mistakes under supervision. In offices, fewer junior analysts meant fewer reps turning raw data into stories and facing pushback in low-stakes rooms. The risk is a hollowed-out pipeline where people skip straight from school to strategic, with no scar tissue, and get exposed when reality pushes back. Meanwhile, metrics celebrated the boom. In the 1990s, output per hour soared with PCs and networks, but median wages crawled. Returns flowed to software firms, shareholders, and executives able to scale decisions across larger systems. Mid-skill, routine-intensive roles got reclassified, offshored, or absorbed into shared services. People felt busier and less secure at the same time. That paradox isn't emotional, it's structural. Systems move faster. Humans move to the edges, where the work is spiky and failure costs more. If you zoom out, the winners across waves share a pattern. They do one or more of these. They define the blueprint others must follow. They control the lever that multiplies labor, where they face the customer and close. The losers aren't untalented. They're trapped operating someone else's blueprint without negotiating the upside or the downside. That's the middle squeeze. So what's the lesson you can actually use? Don't camp where repeatability is the value proposition. If your edge is being fast at standardized tasks, history shows your price will slide. Move where exceptions live, where taste decides, where rules get written, where money changes hands. Learn how the machine works so you can design with it or set the limits around it, not just feed it clean inputs. And remember the apprenticeship gap. If the pipeline thins, you'll have to manufacture. Your own reps under supervision, simulations, shadowing high-stakes rooms, writing memos that propose and defend decisions, then inviting critique. You can't download judgment. You have to accumulate it and show receipts. This isn't nostalgia for craft. It's a map. Across revolutions, value consolidates around owning, designing, or selling, and around carrying blame when the call is hard. The middle still exists, but it's precarious. To find durable ground today, we need a modern seat that absorbs uncertainty without being swallowed by routine. That seat has a name: the exception handler advantage. Routine work flows to AI. Risk stays human. That split is your opening. When a system handles the standard path, the edge cases become visible, costly, and scary. That's where you step in, not as the person who clicks faster, but as the person who owns uncertainty. The escalation path needs a name. Make it yours. Becoming the escalation path means you get called when liability, compliance, or reputation exposure looms. A refund that might set a precedent. A data request that touches privacy law. A supplier failure that could stall a launch. The machine drafts options. You decide which one won't explode in a week. You're not the AI person. You're the owner of consequences. To sit there with authority, don't just follow rules, write them. Draft the policies, thresholds, and guardrails the system runs on. Define authority levels. What ICs may approve, what requires dual sign-off, what triggers a rollback. Translate regulation into runnable logic. When you write the playbook, you make the future legible. People defer to the person who turns chaos into steps. Messy, regulated niches are your best soil. Think healthcare prior authorizations, financial dispute remediation, cross-border tax edge cases, clinical trial deviations, claims triage under new legislation. These are domains where stakes are real, ambiguity is constant, and the cost of a wrong call is non-trivial. AI can surface precedents. You choose which precedent actually applies and why. That judgment earns a premium. Build weird expertise on purpose. Pick a subdomain where most smart people bounce because it's boring, prickly, or politically charged. Become the person who knows the 3 obscure memos, the 1 clause in the vendor MSA, the regulator's informal guidance from last spring. Codify it, update it, and teach it. Scarcity compounds when the knowledge is both specialized and current. Now collect receipts. Don't showcase dashboards, showcase decisions. 1-page memos for each hard call. Context, options considered, risk analysis, the decision, outcome after 30 and 90 days, and what you'd change. That's your portfolio. It proves you can operate under uncertainty and improve over time. It also trains the next person while making your thinking auditable. Key in regulated environments. Price the risk, not the keystrokes. If you sell hours, you compete with automation. If you sell outcomes, clearance within a service level, reduction in adverse events, recovery of disputed revenue, you align your incentives with the business and decouple your income from typing. Offer tiers, guidance only, guided decision with cosign, or full decision ownership with indemnification caps. The more blame you absorb, the higher the price. Inside a company, claim the escalation lane before it's assigned. Label the edge cases no one owns, then volunteer to draft the first policy and handle the next 3 incidents. Ask for formal delegation and a post-mortem slot. Bring legal and finance along early so your guardrails stick. The goal isn't heroics. It's designing away the next fire while owning the call when the fire arrives. As AI scales, your skills compound. You'll orchestrate tools to narrow uncertainty faster. Retrieval to pull precedents, agents to simulate options, detectors to flag anomalies. But your identity remains the person who signs. That separation keeps you valuable. Tools accelerate your clarity. They don't replace your accountability. A quick micro-story. A fintech faces a surge of chargebacks after a marketing promo misfires. The model clusters cases and drafts responses. The exception handler spots a pattern that would trigger a regulatory audit if denied en masse. They craft a 2-tier remedy: expedited refunds for a narrow cohort and a verified remediation path for the rest, with language that avoids admitting systemic fault. Losses are capped, complaints subside, no inquiry arrives. That's priced in millions, not minutes. Expect pushback. Some will say you're slowing things down. Meet that with data. Show cycle times before and after your guardrails, show fewer escalations, show smaller blast radiuses when things slip. Others will say policy kills innovation. Reframe. Policy creates safe lanes to go faster. You're not the brake. You're the guardrail that lets the driver keep speed on a cliff road. Finally, watch your scope. If you take every weird thing, you'll drown. Define intake criteria, publish them, and hold them. Build a tiered response. Self-serve guidance for low-risk cases, review queues for medium, and white glove treatment for high-risk exceptions. Train proxies incrementally. You're building a function, not a personal brand that can't sleep. Routine goes to AI. Reputation, regulation, and risk go to people who accept responsibility and prove their aim. Become that person. Write the rules, take the calls, keep receipts, and charge for the risk you remove. Skills that compound when AI scales. Start with commercial sense, because money is the scoreboard leaders actually read. When AI floods workflows, unit economics decide who gets promoted and who gets priced out. Learn to map cost per transaction, contribution margin, working capital cycles, and the breakpoints where volume discounts, failure rates, or fraud flip a profit to a loss. If you can point to a line on the P&L and say, "This decision moves that number by this amount," you become hard to cut. Contracts matter too: renewal terms, usage thresholds, indemnities, and service credits. AI can summarize clauses. You negotiate the risk they create. Deal-making compounds on top of that. Influence isn't a slide. It's a map of stakeholders, incentives, and power. Sketch the people who can block or bless your plan. Legal fears liability. Sales fears lost quota. Finance fears variance. Ops fears burnout. Tie each to a metric they own. Now you're not asking for approval. You're trading relief. In external negotiations, set anchors with outcome-based pricing and define success in the buyer's language. Fewer chargebacks, faster days sales outstanding, lower adverse events. The model drafts the proposal. You construct the give-get ladder that preserves relationship equity while moving revenue. Narrative leverage turns those deals into decisions. Framing isn't decoration, it's a control system for attention. Write crisp memos that force trade-offs into the open. One page, title as decision, context, options, risks, recommendation, cost of delay. Eliminate hedging words. Name the principle behind the choice so future exceptions inherit logic. When AI writes readable prose, your edge is coherence under pressure. A memo that survives escalation becomes a reusable scaffold for the next call, compounding your reach across rooms you're not in. Systems thinking keeps you from winning one quarter and paying for it in 3. Before you automate a step, map the couplings. What increases false positives? Where do feedback loops amplify small errors? Who eats the failure? Build rollback plans, guardrail thresholds, and kill switches. Pre-register leading indicators of harm, so you're not arguing after the breach. AI accelerates flows. You design baffles and spillways. Leaders trust the person who can explain second-order effects without killing speed. Treat tool fluency as a means, not an identity. Get comfortable orchestrating a stack. Retrieval to ground models, agents to handle routine branching, evaluators to catch drift, and observability that ties outputs to business metrics. Speak enough technical to translate risk between engineering and the business, but keep your badge anchored to outcomes. When the tool changes, your map stays useful. That keeps you from being the person replaced when the platform swaps. Build tight feedback loops. Run postmortems that focus on decisions, not blame. For every notable outcome, capture the assumptions, the evidence you had, the choice you made, and the result. Track error bars. Did uncertainty shrink the way you predicted? Which metric moved? Which didn't? Close the loop with a change to the playbook, contract, or control. Publish the learning. You're building a compounding library of judgment with receipts tied to dollars. Add a microskill that pays, pricing. Learn to move from hourly rates to risk-adjusted outcomes. Offer tiers, advice only, cosign decision, or full decision ownership with capped exposure. Price speed premiums. Add ratchets where success shares upside. AI can make you fast. Pricing ensures fast doesn't make you cheap. Another compounding layer is governance literacy. Know the standards and the auditor's checklists, SOC 2, ISO, HIPAA, model risk management. You're not chasing certificates. You're designing processes that pass inspection without strangling delivery. When regulators or enterprise clients ask, you have artifacts ready, model cards, testing protocols, access logs, and human-in-the-loop thresholds. Compliance becomes a sales enablement function, not a drag. Cultivate escalation temperament. In a crisis, people mirror your pulse. Practice the 5-sentence update. What happened? What's impacted? What's contained? What's next? What you need? Make clean asks. Confirm ownership. When AI is in the loop, add clarity on model role, human checkpoints, and time to roll back. Calm makes money. Finally, teach. When you can transmit your playbooks, you turn personal skill into organizational capability. And that makes you the person leadership keeps to replicate wins. Host short clinics on decision framing, risk mapping, and exception triage. Use sanitized cases and show before-after metrics. Authority grows when others perform better using your scaffolds. AI scales drafts, you scale discernment. That's the compounding path. The 4 traps of fake progress. Tool chasing looks like momentum because it gives you instant hits of competence. New model, new plugin, new course. Each one promises an edge. Each one resets the leaderboard. But tools without leverage turn you into a replaceable operator of someone else's stack. Ask a stricter question. Does this tool change a decision, move a dollar, or reduce a risk I'm accountable for? If it just makes prettier artifacts faster, you're polishing a commodity. The only defensible reason to learn a tool is to collapse time to judgment or expand the surface you can govern. Dashboard addiction is the second trap. Reporting feels like control, especially when the visuals sing and the refresh ticks in real time. But if a dashboard doesn't trigger a decision boundary, stop, start, change, then it's stage lighting. Teams drift into weekly rituals where everyone presents graphs nobody intends to act on. That's not management, that's entertainment. Convert dashboards into tripwires. Define thresholds that trigger pre-agreed responses and owners. Then kill any chart that never changes a choice. If it can't alter behavior, it's decoration consuming attention you need for ambiguity. Process worship comes next. When anxiety rises, organizations add steps. Checklists, gates, sign-offs, safety by ceremony. Pretty soon, the map becomes the territory. People optimize passing the process rather than improving the outcome. AI accelerates the theater. Templated forms, auto-routed approvals, compliance bots that scold. The trap is mistaking friction for rigor. Rigor is measurable error reduction with documented trade-offs. If your process can't show defect rates falling, cycle time shrinking, or risk exposure dropping, it's a costume. Keep the smallest process that achieves a specific, evidence safeguard, and be ruthless about pruning ornamental governance. Ghost productivity is the quietest trap because it flatters everyone. Calendars fill, messages fly, tickets close, drafts ship. Activity explodes while value erodes at the edges. Customers churn for reasons nobody logs. Exceptions pile up off-system. Margin leaks through discounts granted to save the relationship. AI magnifies this by autofilling the visible parts of work while hiding the human scut behind escalations and side channels. The antidote is a weekly value audit. Trace a sample of your outputs to a business metric that matters. If you can't map the chain, you're generating heat, not light. Heat feels busy, light moves money. Now the escape hatches. Convert outputs into owned assets. If you write memos, turn them into playbooks with thresholds, clauses, and rollback steps that others can run without you. If you build automations, wrap them in outcome contracts, service levels, penalties, and reporting that tie to revenue, cost, or risk. If you negotiate, memorialize agreements as templates and clause libraries that shorten future deals and encode your judgments. Ownership means your work persists and compounds beyond the meeting. It's the difference between a great deck and a doctrine that changes how decisions get made next quarter. A practical heuristic pins all this together. If it doesn't change a decision, it's decoration. Make that line the test for everything you do: courses, dashboards, processes, and projects. Ask, which decision will be different because this exists? Who owns that decision? What evidence will show it changed? Write those answers down before you start. If you can't name them, you're building for applause. Applause is cheap. Decision rights and measurable shifts are scarce. Here's a micro move that cuts through fake progress. Every Friday, ship a one-page decisions ledger. 5 rows: the decision, options considered, risks weighed, chosen rationale, metric to watch. Include one decision you influenced and one you owned. Attach receipts: the clause you inserted, the threshold you set, the trade you negotiated. Over a quarter, that ledger becomes a portfolio of leverage, not activity. It also exposes dead dashboards and zombie processes, because if they never show up in the ledger, they aren't steering anything. 2 final tells. If your calendar is dominated by tool demos, reporting reviews, and process syncs with no explicit decision at the end, you're marinating in traps 1 through 3. If your wins are described with verbs like implemented, adopted, and rolled out, without a paired metric, ghost productivity has you. Flip the verbs to decided, stopped, repriced, rerouted, and attach a number. The language forces intent. Fake progress. Comforts, then cages. Real progress narrows uncertainty, shifts incentives, and survives audit. If you can't say those three, kill it or reframe it until you can. The Anti-Upskilling Playbook. Pick a domain where the pain repeats, the stakes are real, and someone holds a budget. Regulated sectors are reliable. Healthcare revenue cycle, insurance claims leakage, fintech disputes, safety compliance, cross-border logistics. Don't chase glamour, chase recurring mess. Your first filter is cadence. If the problem shows up weekly and costs money when mishandled, you've got a lane. Build an exceptions portfolio, not a skills list. Capture 3 to 5 cases you've already touched where uncertainty was high and the outcome mattered. For each, write a tight memo: context, options, risks, decision, result, and what you'd do differently. Add the artifact that proves it: reduced chargebacks, faster clearance, fewer fines, preserved revenue. This is your judgment under pressure catalog. It earns trust faster than any badge. Own your distribution. If you're internal, start an exceptions brief. Sanitized notes on decisions made and the guardrails installed. If you're external or planning to be, publish a newsletter aimed at operators with your niche's pain. Don't share inspiration. Share procedures that survived impact, thresholds, templates, and rollback steps. Keep sensitive details scrubbed. Keep the logic intact. The goal is to be discoverable by the people who will pay you to make their ambiguity smaller. Shift your savings into ownership. Use the productivity you generate to buy assets that pay you without permission. A stake in a small firm, a cash-flowing micro-business, revenue share in software you help design, or IP that sells while you sleep. Translate "I got faster" into "I own a piece of the upside." If your company offers equity tied to outcomes you can influence, trade short-term bonus for long-term leverage. If not, build equity elsewhere. Make a career bet you can actually defend. There are 3 clean lanes. Advisory. You sell judgment and playbooks to multiple clients, pricing by outcomes and risk absorbed. Premium IC. You stay inside a company but attach yourself to revenue, liability, or regulation, with comp tied to measurable deltas. Small firm owner. You build or buy a niche shop that solves repeating, high-stakes problems with a blend of software and service. All 3 require receipts, not rhetoric. Design a pricing ladder. Start with a free insight that's uniquely useful, a short diagnostic, or a decision ledger template for your niche. Then a paid analysis, a one-time assessment with concrete thresholds, clauses, and SLA recommendations. Finally, a retained risk tier. You co-sign or own decisions within defined bounds, with fees tied to speed, accuracy, and financial impact. Offer speed premiums and success ratchets. Publish the latter so buyers self-select into seriousness. Inside a company, claim the exceptions lane before it's formalized. Map the gray areas nobody owns. Propose intake criteria. Draft the first policy and socialize it with legal, finance, and ops. Ask for delegated authority and a standing post-mortem seat. Your goal isn't heroics. It's to design away repeat confusion while reserving your time for the calls that carry real exposure. Use AI to shorten research and drafting, then keep your name on the decision. Stand up a proof of work page, internal wiki or external site, that anchors your narrative. Include 3 elements: your decisions ledger, your playbooks, and your outcomes. Keep it terse and auditable. When someone asks what you do, you send a link and they see money, risk, and time moving in the right direction because of choices you made. That page does quiet selling while you work. Install weekly operating rituals. Monday, pick 1 decision you'll force to closure and 1 rule you'll clarify. Wednesday, publish a half-page update that frames trade-offs for stakeholders, asks for the right consent, and names a kill switch. Friday, ship the decisions ledger with receipts. These rituals prevent drift into dashboards and keep you in the lane that funds your seat. Now the money hygiene that keeps you brave. Hold 12 months of runway if you plan to switch lanes. 6 if you're staying inside but negotiating scope. Cut burn ruthlessly, subscriptions, debt-carrying costs, sunk cost projects. Open an emergency line of credit before you need it. Price your first 2 clients or projects to buy time, not to maximize margin. Time is the only asset that creates optionality when markets wobble. Use AI to buy hours you reallocate to exceptions, not to pad reports. Automate intake, classification, retrieval, and first drafts. Set up evaluators that flag anomalies and drift. Log decisions automatically with context. Then spend your regained time in rooms where ambiguity is expensive. That's the compounding loop: Tools collapse tasks. You invest the surplus in judgment that can't be copied. Watch for scope creep disguised as trust. If you're good, people will throw every weird thing at you. Protect your lane by publishing intake rules and saying no, with a pointer to a self-serve guide or a lower-tier review. Scarcity preserves price and sanity. Finally, choose a 90-day wedge. One niche, one painful exception, one buyer with budget. Draft the policy, test it on 3 live cases, measure cycle time and risk reduction, and publish the delta. Ask for either a retainer or the next bigger bet. Repeat once. 2 cycles create a flywheel. Receipts attract deals. Deals create assets. Assets buy time. Time deepens judgment. That's the anti-upskilling life raft, practical, narrow, and yours. Future-proofing your wallet. Start with a barbell. On one end, a stable base that pays the bills without drama. On the other, upside projects that can swing your year. The base might be your current role, a retainer, or a contract with predictable scope. The upside might be an advisory lane, a small equity slice in a project you improve, or a productized service with value pricing. The point is structural. You don't want a single boss deciding your entire income. A barbell keeps you solvent and dangerous at the same time. Now build the capital flywheel. Skills produce cash. Cash buys assets. Assets produce optionality. Optionality lets you choose work that compounds skill. That loop gets tight when you tie it to real numbers. Decide a monthly savings rate that survives turbulence. 35% is aggressive, 20% is a floor. Channel it into assets you can explain in a sentence. Broad equity indexes, a boring cash-flowing microbusiness, a revenue share in a tool you help operate, or IP that sells while you sleep. If you can't explain how it pays you, it's a hobby, not an asset. Titles don't pay rent, options do. Swap climb the ladder for reduced single boss risk. Test a simple metric. What percentage of your income dies if one person says no? Get that under 50% in 6 months, under 30% in a year. Inside a company, do it by attaching to multiple P&L owners, compliance plus sales plus operations. Outside, do it with 2 retainers and a small product. The psychology changes when you're not negotiating from fear. You say no to scope creep. You price risk honestly. You choose problems that teach you. Ensure your runway. Keep fixed costs low and your emergency lines open before you need them. 12 months of expenses in liquid instruments is ideal if you're switching lanes. 6 if you're steady but exposed to reorgs. Reduce debt carrying costs. Renegotiate rates. Automate minimums. Schedule principal attacks. Build a boring buffer. A high-yield cash bucket. A no annual fee card with a large limit. And a tiny business overdraft if you invoice. In a crunch, time is your oxygen. Don't rely on luck for air. Use AI to buy time, not to polish artifacts. Automate intake, classification, and retrieval. Build a drafting loop for memos and contracts you'll refine. Set alerting on drift and anomalies so you're not combing dashboards. Log your decisions automatically with context so postmortems write themselves. Then take the reclaimed hours and put them where ambiguity lives. Negotiations, exception tree of, stakeholder mapping. The promise of productivity becomes real only when you spend the surplus on leverage. Install milestones that force reality checks. Quarterly, buy an asset, no matter how small, so your savings become ownership. That could be a micro website that collects leads, a tiny slice in a service business you operationalize, or simply more equity in a broad index. Annually, reset pricing. If your outcomes improved and your receipts are solid, raise rates or shift clients up your ladder. If not, cut offerings that never show up in your decisions ledger. Tie both rituals to calendar invites with a colleague who'll hold you to it. Make the base safer as the upside grows. If you're employed, negotiate comp tied to measurable deltas you control, churn reduction, clearance speed, recovery rates, risk exposure. If you're contracting, convert hourly to outcome tiers and add speed premiums. If you own a small shop, smooth cash flow with minimums and late fees, and build a pipeline that's always 1 quarter ahead. Safety isn't a feeling, it's contracts that reflect your real value. A microstory. Nadia, a healthcare operations lead, kept her day job while building a weekend productized service. Prior authorization exception reviews with decision memos and guardrails. She automated intake and drafting, priced outcomes, and posted a monthly decisions ledger with anonymized metrics. 3 months in, one hospital moved her to a retainer. 6 months in, her employer hit a reorg. Her base survived because she owned a compliance-adjacent outcome. If it hadn't, she still had runway, clients, and a pipeline. She wasn't lucky, she was insured. Beware the temptation to diversify into noise. 5 tiny side hustles won't save you. 2 serious lanes will. Pick an upside that rhymes with your day work so each rep compounds. If you write guardrails at work, sell them narrowly outside. If you manage high variance. Field work, package the risk playbooks. Cross-pollination speeds competence and credibility. Finally, set a personal kill switch. If your base job starts absorbing your upside hours without moving your leverage, trigger a change, renegotiate scope, cut non-critical projects, or step to a premium IC lane. If your upside distracts without producing receipts in 2 quarters, sunset it. You're not chasing busy, you're buying freedom. Freedom is purchased in hours today and paid back in options tomorrow. Inside the C-suite, why the lie persists. From the top floor, the story has to land clean on an earnings call. Executives speak in EPS, margin expansion, and operating leverage. Headcount is the most visible lever, and AI makes it defensible. When analysts ask where the gains come from, leadership needs a narrative that sounds humane and strategic. We're investing in upskilling to unlock productivity, plays better than we're shrinking the middle layer. The lie persists because incentives reward the optics. Training functions double as PR. A company can announce a multi-million-dollar future of work initiative, host photo ops, and publish badge counts, while finance runs a parallel model with span of control targets and automation curves. Both are technically true. Only one moves EPS in the next 2 quarters. The board applauds the discipline. The market prices the promise. Nobody asks whether certificates changed a single decision. Vendor lock-in adds gravity. Platform partners sell bundles with adoption commitments, usage minutes, certified users, workflow counts. Discounts hinge on hitting those numbers. Executives want predictable costs. Vendors want proof the platform is embedded. That creates pressure to drive usage, which conveniently strengthens the case for restructuring. The more the tool replaces coordination, the easier it is to widen spans and trim layers. Adoption becomes destiny. Inside planning cycles, the mid-layer is a cost center. It's easy to quantify and compare. Finance can model coordination cost per dollar of revenue, then simulate the effect of automation on meeting hours, report prep, and review loops. The result looks clinical. Reduce managers per IC from 1:7 to 110. Consolidate analytics into a shared pool. Nobody is evil in this spreadsheet. The cells don't measure morale, apprenticeship, or institutional memory. They measure spend. So the memo language gets careful. Strategic realignment. Customer-centric transformation. Empowering our people with AI. Behind those words is a sequence. Freeze hiring, drive tool adoption, celebrate output gains, present benchmarks, collapse layers. If you've never sat in an operating review, this sounds conspiratorial. If you have, it's Tuesday. The cadence persists because it works and because it's legible to investors. Reading the next HR memo becomes a survival skill. Signal beats noise when you track certain phrases. Centers of excellence often mean centralized functions with fewer seats. Shared services usually indicates consolidation of reporting and analysis. Spans and layers is the preamble to management reductions. Self-serve analytics sounds empowering. It often precedes a cut to analyst headcount. Citizen development hints at pushing automation to the edge so the middle can be thinned. Watch timing. When learning cohorts wrap just before quarter end, expect a realignment within 6 to 10 weeks. When procurement signs a multi-year platform with usage minimums, expect directives to increase adoption and streamline approvals. When finance publishes a zero-based budgeting exercise, expect functions to re-justify every role with automation assumptions baked into baselines. These aren't omens, they're pipelines. Inside the exec suite, the credible counterweight is risk. Legal, compliance, and audit have veto power when exposure is real. Regulatory fines, safety incidents, reputational blowback. That's why exception handlers with receipts get protected. They stabilize the story leadership tells outside. We're faster without compromising safety. If you carry that sentence with evidence, cycle time down, adverse events flat, you become part of the optics, not a cost. A micro-story from that floor. The CEO previews an earnings deck. Slide 12 touts 20% productivity gains via AI enablement. Slide 13 shows streamlined operating model with 2 fewer layers in operations. IR flags likely analyst questions. Legal scrubs risk language. The CHRO proposes a Talent Acceleration Academy, press release timed with the 8K. The CFO nods because the street likes transformation paired with care. Nobody mentions names. The machine needs a headline, and these are the ingredients. Why don't more executives tell the whole truth? Because markets punish ambiguity and reward confident plans. Saying, we might cut if the tools deliver sounds weak. Saying, we're capturing efficiencies responsibly sounds strong. Also, many leaders genuinely believe training helps. They're not lying to themselves. They're following incentives that blur cause and effect. Upskilling may help a subset. It also oils the gears for consolidation. Both can be true. So what do you do with this knowledge? Decode the memos early and move first. If you see shared services coming, pivot toward owning exceptions that won't centralize well. If self-serve rises, shift from building dashboards to writing tripwires and policies that trigger action. If spans and layers is on a slide, get your name attached to decisions, not summaries. Fight for scope that ties to liability or revenue protection. Tie your evaluation to outcome deltas, not artifact counts. One last tell, new committees. AI Governance Council, Transformation Steering Group, Operating Cadence Refresh. These bodies exist to standardize and accelerate change. Volunteer where you can shape guardrails and author doctrines. Decline where you'll be a rubber stamp. The councils that matter write the rules that other people run. Sitting there turns you from subject to author of the next memo. The lie persists because it's profitable and palatable. Your defense isn't outrage, it's positioning. Read the incentives, anticipate the optics, and place yourself where the story needs a name to sign the hard calls. Your 90-day pivot. Day 1 to 7. Audit your work like finance audits spend. Open your calendar, pull a week of messages, list every task. Tag each as automatable, assisted, or judgment. Automatable means clean rules and repeatable data. Assisted means a model can draft, you finalize. Judgment means incomplete information and non-trivial risk. You're building a heat map. Now automate the automatable. Stand-up intake forms, retrieval for precedence, draft bots for summaries, evaluators to catch drift. Free hours fast, then declare what you'll do with them. Exceptions and decisions. Week 2, claim exceptions. Publish a one-page intake for edge cases you'll own, scope, thresholds, turnaround times, when you escalate, and when you decline. Socialize it with legal and finance, so your lane is legitimate. Volunteer to handle the next 3 tricky incidents and to write the postmortems. Put your name on the line where ambiguity lives. That's the signal leaders recognize. Week 3, ship 2 decision memos. Pick 1 internal choice and 1 customer-facing call. Write the tight structure: context, options, risks, recommendation, cost of delay, owner. Deliver before you're asked. Ask for a short acknowledgement from an executive or P&L owner. Save the email. That's a receipt. It proves you frame hard calls and accept responsibility. Week 4, build your proof of work page. Internal wiki or external link, concise and auditable. Include a decisions ledger, 2 playbooks you wrote with thresholds and rollback steps, and outcomes tied to revenue, cost, or risk. Keep screenshots light, keep metrics clear. Share quietly with stakeholders who matter. You're making your value legible in a world drowning in artifacts. Week 5 to 6, pitch 1 project with outcome pricing. Internal path, propose a policy and escalation function for a costly exception stream, priced in saved dollars or faster clearance. External path, a narrow, productized service in your niche, decision memos and guardrails for a specific exception with a turnaround SLA. Set tiers, guidance only, cosign decision, full decision ownership. Price the risk you absorb, not the hours you type. Week 7, cash and runway. Cut burn, lock an emergency line, and aim for 6 months of expenses. Negotiate comp or contract terms that tie to outcome deltas. Churn, chargebacks, time to clear, adverse events. Trade vanity goals for measurable levers. If you can't move it, don't accept accountability for it. Courage comes from oxygen. Money is oxygen. Week 8, publish sanitized insights. A short newsletter or internal brief with 1 case per issue. The decision, the rule, the metric. No fluff. Consistency matters more than polish. Forwardable memos are distribution. Distribution attracts problems you're positioned to solve. Week 9. Install operating rituals. Monday. Name one decision you'll force to closure and one rule you'll clarify. Wednesday. Send a half-page update that frames trade-offs and names owners. Friday. Ship the decision's ledger with receipts. Repeat. Rituals beat chaos. Week 10 to 11. Formalize the lane. Ask for delegated authority in writing, an escalation alias, and a standing post-mortem seat. Offer to train proxies using your playbooks. Your goal isn't hoarding edge cases. It's designing a system where you handle the highest risk calls and the next layer handles the rest safely. Week 12. Evaluate. Did you move dollars, reduce risk, or speed clearance? If yes, raise your price or expand scope. If not, cut anything that never showed up in your ledger and double down on what did. Choose the next asset to buy, equity, cash flow, or IP, so your time converts into ownership. Then pick the next 90-day wedge. One exception, one buyer, one measurable win. Start again. The training promised safety. The chairs were removed anyway. Keep your seat by owning decisions when the data blinks and by charging for the risk you absorb. If this hit a nerve, send it to a friend sitting in a $75,000 to $150,000 chair. They'll thank you before the next reorg. If you want the next unfair edge, how algorithms are already pricing your rent, subscribe and queue up our next documentary. One tap now protects next quarter's paycheck. We drop practical deep dives every week so you can defend your income and buy your time back fast.